actually flourishing right now. There's a lot, going on, a lot of work still that needs to be done. But we've kind of adopted the plan, kind of gotten rid of our old model that obviously wasn't the greatest model, and adopted more of a business model. I'm a business-minded guy. And we'll go over this again. I'm getting ahead of myself a little. But I am the deputy chair. I have the entire 1st District as my area. 1st District is all of the UP. Then about right there. I like using the hand. It's the 2nd largest congressional district in the country. The only place that's only congressional district larger is a place in Alaska, and we say that doesn't really count, but but we do have some of the most shoreline of any congressional district. Obviously, things got a little interesting now that Dr. Dan has decided to step down. Actually, one of my slides in here is pretty well devoted to Dr. Dan, now just the congressional seat. So that's going to be a big task. The 1st District is a target for the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. The Democrats are putting a lot of faith in the 1st District this year. So it's something we have to really work on to make sure we win. Right now there's 2 Democratic candidates. I believe they'll be the only 2 in the primary. Jerry Cannon, who most of you probably know his name. He ran against Dr. Dan last time. And also Lon Johnson. Lon's the one we're expecting will probably win because he has all the money. A little back information on Lon Johnson. Lon isn't from northern Michigan, he's from downstate. I believe it's the Pontiac area, but don't hold me to that, but it is downstate. Has a vacation home in Kalkaska, and that just became all of a sudden out of nowhere, that's his primary address, and he's running for the 1st District. So that's not going to go over well in the UP. Lon was the chairman for the Democrat Party of Michigan. His wife was one of the lead fundraisers for the Obama administration, so he has the money. He has the money. He ran for a House seat and lost, but he spent $350,000 on a House seat that typically spends between $40,000 and $80,000. So that lets you know the type of money draw he has. If he wins the congressional seat, it's probably his for 20 years. He's a young guy, vibrant guy. It's something we have to work. We have to make sure he does not win. So that's part of my job. Our job at the state party, things we do and we don't do. What we do is we help the Republican candidates win in the elections. We work with the county parties. I work with individual county parties, volunteers, precinct delegates, whoever we can, to build an infrastructure to win. I like using the word infrastructure because the House really loves using that word. We all know about the road funding, and infrastructure is the big word of the year. So I'm borrowing that from them. What we do not do, we do not ever get involved in the primary. That's a big misconception. There is no talk, there's nothing. What we're doing is we're working. You guys pick, we pick, as individuals pick who wins the primary. Once the primary is over, we've built this infrastructure for the candidates to work on. It's not our place. It's not fair to any particular candidate for us to work the primary. It's just not it's not healthy. So we don't do that. We don't have anything to do with the primaries. And this slideshow is called a political plan. I'm going to skip some of it because a little background. The RNC is actually placing operatives throughout the whole state of Michigan. I work for the Michigan Republican Party. Also, I'm the 36th District Vice Chair. I have a couple hats. But with the RNC is placing a field staffer in the state, in the 1st District in the next month or 2. It's looking like October. Kind of my counterpart, more on a national level. They do a little bit different stuff. But again, the 1st District is a big target. Everyone's giving it the attention that it deserves and it needs, and we know we're a big player. So this is the political plan for 2016. Things we did in 2014, re-elected our Governor Snyder, re-elected Bill Schuette Johnson, up the Senate majority, up the House majority, protected 5-2 Supreme Court majority, returned 9 Republicans to Congress. I believe it was you were talking about the Planned Parenthood thing. That's something I like to let people know. before any video came out, before any talk about this came out, the Michigan Republican legislature voted to defund Planned Parenthood as a state. They said we will not pass our budget unless we take Planned Parenthood out of there.
Good.
So props to our elected officials. You know, to me, that's one of the biggest issues I have with anything. You know, there's things I can look past. That's something I can't look past. My conscience won't allow me to look past. And our guys that we elected, that we gave the majority to, and our governor signed that. We don't, you know, before it was a national deal. So quick little shout out to them on that. Let's see, our 2016 goals. Hold our Republican majority in the State House. Again, re-elect Justice Viviano. There'll also be one more justice. Her name slips my mind. She stepped down. There's going to be another election for a justice. Retain 9 congressional seats. And also make Michigan matter in the 2016 presidential election. We've had 11 of the Republican candidates come through the state of Michigan already. 11. That's huge. It might be 12. Well, there were 5 in Mackinac. And then Ben Carson was just here. Dr. Ben Carson was just in Jackson this week. It's been a big deal. Michigan has been super important. Did anyone get to go to Mackinac? Anyone in here? It was a great time. Again, all of the candidates were invited. South Carolina had a big thing going on that weekend, so it was kind of split the candidates. So Michigan is important in 2016. We're important. The first district is very important in 2016. So the deputy chair program, I'm going to run through this quick. I know you're all tired. It's late. It's the middle of the week or beginning of the week. But what I'm going to do the best I can, attend the county party meetings, district meetings, work on communication. Communication is one of the biggest things we've failed at. I think counties have failed at it. I'm vice chair for Otsego County. I know we've struggled with it. I know district has struggled with it. And on state party level, we've struggled with it. And it's something we're all going to work towards to have a better communication system. Alcona County has different needs than Otsego, different needs than Presque, different needs than, you know, Iron County up in the UP would have. We'll talk about it. We'll work through it. We'll make sure those needs are getting communicated with Lansing, with State Party. You know, there's things we need. I was talking to a county last week. They said, we didn't get any signs until a month before the elections last year. And we didn't know who to talk to. Well, that's the things this program will help eliminate, those little things. Because if you can't call the chairwoman, because she has 83 counties that she's working for, you call me, shoot me an email, say, James, we don't have a single sign. What are you going to do about it? I'll be on it. So that's really the big part. Communicate regularly, work with the general election candidates to recruit volunteers and train volunteers, activists, and county parties. Again, it kind of reiterates it. Efficiency and communication, 2 big things that we haven't done the greatest job at in the past, but we're definitely working on it. Also, I'll be working as 2016 comes around to do a bi-weekly or monthly call with the county chairs to tell us their needs, to tell us. I know the chairman already does, I think it's monthly or every other month, a call with the county chairs. Chairman Romney McDaniel does that, and so that also I have 32 counties in the first district, so we have to work on keeping that communication open. These are the trainings that are currently available. There's actually more that aren't on this list. These are 5 of the trainings that are available. Volunteer recruitment seems to be the really hot topic right now. A lot of people, how can we get more volunteers? We have a whole slideshow presentation on that. I'll be showing anywhere that people ask. Social media, Carrie is doing a phenomenal job with that. You guys are really blessed to have her. I just actually, for a county over near Traverse City, I set up their Facebook, their internet. They knew nothing, didn't have anybody that was tech savvy, so you're really blessed to have have Carrie working on all that, and I'm really blessed so I don't have to do it for you guys. And she's doing a phenomenal job. Data, which is a big part, EDO, Election Day operations. It's really interesting to look into the intricate part of Election Day operations. The Republicans have really dropped the ball on this a lot. The Democrats are stellar at this. We have GOP data center, I was explaining to Carrie earlier, and she knows about the Michigan dashboard, that have, I mean, every name of everybody in your county. We can have people working the polls that can check off the names. And the Democrats do this. They do this every year. You're allowed to look and see the names. You can't see how they voted. You can see the names. You can check them off. And then, you know, it gets to be 6, 7 o'clock and you realize, oh, you know, I haven't seen, you guys know your neighborhoods, you know your areas. I haven't seen a bunch of these people. You start looking and there's a bunch of, you know, who you believe to be Republicans that haven't voted. Well, we'll have a call center. We can start making calls, having people knock doors. Hey, don't forget it's election day. You know, let's get out there and vote. So there's a lot of really cool options. It takes work. We all know that. And anything worthwhile takes two things: time and money, right? And so these are all trainings that we have available. Again, in the MIGOP Election Day Operations app. I'm going to skip through a little bit of this because I just got ahead of myself. The congressional race, 1st District, was a Democratic stronghold from 33 to 2010. I believe there was 1 or 2 Republicans. Now, a lot of them have been fairly right Democrats. However, that's, you know, 70 years, 75 years. And again, I went over this. The congressional seat is a target seat that we must win in 2016. Key House races, and you guys fall into this. The 106 is a key House race won by just over 1,000 votes. 1,000 votes is nothing. If your neighbors start talking about, my vote doesn't matter, you know, you hear it in your congregation, in your church, whatever. Well, I was just in the 101, and I was telling them, I said, if 1 or 2 people from every precinct didn't vote, you would have lost that seat. So, I don't know the numbers exactly on the 106, but I imagine precincts, we're talking less than 5 people per precinct didn't show up. We would have lost that seat. How many?
I left it blank.
Yeah. so if that doesn't happen, we lose the seat. And, you know, that's a big deal. The 108, same thing. These are 3 key House races in the 1st. These are the big ones. These are the open seats this year. And so you guys fall into that category. The 106 is important. Yes, ma'am.
Well, one of the things that was come to mind now by talking with different people trying to deal with election is that who don't vote. And they were talking a lot about a lot of Christians don't vote because they think politics is dirty. And then we're talking about strategies and how members of the church can actually help people to understand to vote. They can actually help their congregation register to vote. It's not illegal. I have information from the Liberty Council. It's a short presentation to any person who's in the church. You just can't tell them how to vote. You can even organize, a church can organize to take people to the polls, especially if they're elderly.
Absolutely.
And that. So there are a lot of things.
And you're fully allowed to have the candidates come to your church. They can present, they can straight up say what they want. You know what I'm saying?
They can't say vote for me.
No, but they can talk about.
You don't have to say vote for me, say
No,
vote for me.
they can talk about their issues. They can, the pastor actually can talk about if they're aware of the positions. You can talk about those things because the number one thing, and this is something that's been on my husband and I's heart, is that if you don't get to the people, the small group and a small percentage of people are actually electing our governor.
Absolutely.
And that's why they're saying, and one gentleman from the Salt and Light Ministry who's goes all around the world doing legal work for a variety of persecuted Christians, other issues that involve people around the world. They were telling us that we have a 15-month window to impact on reversing homosexual marriage. They said it would start, what they're seeing with all this push against the moral values that we're holding up, that had been a line that's been crossed. And if the church wakes up, and if the pastors would go and find out what can they legally do. They said about 5%, you can, a church, and you divvy up how much time 5% is. For example, if you have a pastor that's paid 40 hours a week, that's 40 hours. If you have an assistant that works 24 hours, if you have then your Sunday services, your prayer service, you can add up all that time and then divide 5%, and that's how much time you can spend on helping your congregation to understand the issue and who the candidates are.
And if I'm not mistaken, and I just heard this the other day, that 5% of time or what, you can actually say, I mean, that's like your free time basically. I mean, you can completely say what you want to say, who you think, you
can lobby,
can say.
you can do a lot.
So it's pretty incredible what you can do. On that line of, there's a bunch of different polls and different numbers about the evangelical vote, and that's a very lightly used term. But I was just let me preface this by saying I'm not endorsing any candidate. I really don't. I honestly am undecided at this point. However, this week I was in Gaylord. That's my home. Senator Cruz's father spoke in Gaylord, and he said this. Did anybody make it? Was there anybody here? I don't think.
We saw him in Heartland.
Okay. He said this. He said, a person asked him, if we don't have any candidate in the Republican Party that we like, that's our favorite, who do we vote for? How can we vote? And this is something I've heard everywhere. And he said this, which is life-changing. He said, and we all know Senator Cruz is as far, he's as conservative of a guy as anyone that's running. And Senator Cruz's father said this. He said, unless Jesus' name is on the ballot, you're never going to vote for a perfect person. Yeah. And he said, so you're always choosing between the lesser of two evils. It doesn't matter. Unless Jesus' name is on there, you're always choosing for someone who's just a little more perfect than the other guy. And he said, and we're losing elections because we won't vote for someone who's a lot better than the other guy because he's not 100%. And so I thought that was very compelling to me, and it was very kind of eye-opening. Yeah, again, I'm married. I've been married for 2.5 years. I don't agree with my wife on everything. Some days, a lot of things. But
after 30 years, you will.
but you know what I'm saying? You'll never find, much less a presidential candidate or a House candidate, you're not going to find anyone you agree with 100% on. Are there defining issues? Absolutely. Are there things we need to push? Absolutely. But when it comes to the 2016 election, I don't know about you, but I would much rather have Mitt Romney, who wasn't my original candidate. I would much rather have Mitt Romney than President Obama right now. That's your choice. I can't make you make the decision, but I don't know about you, but I think our country would be in a lot better shape with Mitt Romney than Barack Obama. So
everything we were talking about was about the character and position. And one of the things the gentleman had said, he's from Wall Builders, he said he'll ask one question, and then statistically was proven, where do you stand on life? He had noticed that if whatever a candidate's position on life, that they found out that matters on how they vote for taxes, what they do with the budget and that, because if you value life, you're going to value everything else.
Absolutely.
And that.
Absolutely.
And he won't even endorse a dog catcher. Because you'll ask me that question, he said, well, I'm running for dog catcher. It's like, well, you may get the ambition to run for something else someday. It's easier bumping you off now as dog catcher than it is.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's something, we all have to keep in mind. Obviously, the primary is the time to sort that out. Again, in 2016, I had a different candidate in my mind. And then Mitt Romney became the candidate, and I said, or 2012, sorry. And I said, you know what? This is my guy now. You know, look at what he's running against. Look at what our country has done in the past 4 years. Look at his principles.
Yeah.
Again, it's not, Jesus isn't on the ballot. You have to make that decision at that point. So, all right, I'm going to keep going on my slide presentation. I'm actually going to skip over this. And again, this whole part of the presentation is the part that my counterpart from the RNC will be in charge of. However, he's going to be up here, he or she, I don't even know who it is, will be up here. I want them to present this. It's still part of my slide presentation, but it's the RLI, which is the Republican Leadership Initiative. I'll give you the quick rundown. It's training people to be active, to be a part, so that once 2016 rolls around, we have a group of trained people who know what we do, who know how things go, who know how to work, who know how we approach things. Then we can say, hey, you know, this is a 106 House seat. X person won the nomination. We have to, you know,
Back them.
you guys from the 106. We need you guys to go do literature drafts or do, you know, door knocking, things of the sort. And so there's a lot of that. I'm going to skip through this. I do want to hit a little bit of this, how it's different, and this includes what we're doing. The victory model was the previous model. Phones and doors, quantity over quality, very little training, come volunteer, volunteers treated like interchangeable parts, values individual efforts. For those of you who know business well, you look at this left model and you're like, this isn't a great model for success. The right model, however, is the new model, what we're using. There's a role for everyone. Some of you people might absolutely hate making phone calls. I would be one of those people, even though I do that just about every day of my life. I make a ton of phone calls. Quality drives quantity in our new program. If we have 100, previously it's, you know, make 1,000 phone calls, hope that 10 of them, you know, change. However, now we would rather make 100 good phone calls than 10,000 worthless phone calls. It's a waste of time. And you know, and that goes into door knocking. I'm just using phone calls as an example. A lot of training with the new model. Volunteer where you live. Volunteer roles match volunteer interests. If you like knocking doors and dropping off stuff, if you're old and just want to drive, if you're young and just want to drive, if you know, you name it, there's a place for you. You don't have to do phone calls if you like door knocking. No, we're done with that, because what happens when you do that, again, in a business, you understand, if someone's doing something they don't like, they're going to discontinue doing that. And so that's how we're doing it. And again, built around team. Every successful business, every successful entity, teamwork. And so that's the new program we're going with. I'm skipping through this. Who to call. This is my number. If anyone wants to write that down, I also have business cards I can hand out after. And also my email address will be on my business cards. But if you need my number, it's 517-331-5743. I'm always available. You can get a hold of me, call me, text me, email me. To everyone, I'm available to everyone.
Careful, this is going on the website.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine. My number was announced on the radio without me knowing, so it's great. So please feel free to call me again. We'll have a regional field director from the RNC in the next couple months. So this is the last thing. There's 2 more slides and I'm done talking. Adopt the precinct. This kind of goes a little with what you were talking about working on the precinct delegates, but this isn't actually for only precinct delegates. Historically, precinct delegates have been a title, and they do have a vote, and that's it. And there's no way to enforce, from state party. 1, we wouldn't do that, but 2, there's no actual way to enforce anything like, making them do the job or whatever. But what we have is a new program called Adopt a Precinct. There's 1,000 precincts in the state of Michigan that we can't win without. That's all there is to it. We need 1,000 of these precincts, and we've identified them. And for each precinct, we're going to have a captain. We want to have a captain, someone that takes the area, their precinct, and says, this is my precinct. I'm going to knock the doors 3 times. the last 90 days before the election. The polling data and all the statistical data shows that that's the most influential time. It's the last 90 days before election, making a contact, an eye to eye. Hey, I'm from the Republican Party. You know, we just wanted to leave this. Or hey, you know, I'm with whatever candidate, we wanted to leave you some info, leave them some literature. Next time you go back, like, oh yeah, I remember this person, you know, they were here, you know, a couple months ago, a couple weeks ago, whatever it may be. Third time, chances are they're going to talk to you. They're going to hear what you have to say. They're going to, even if the first time you're just not going to say hello, by the third time you knock, leave some literature, they're interested in what you have. And organize and motivate precinct captains to volunteer on election day. This is, again, back to what I said, election day operations are a huge part of success in an election. Getting out the vote, making sure these people know, you know, hey guys, you know, it's election day. You know, you want to go vote. Again, 320 votes in the 101st, or yeah, in the 101st seat. 320 votes change that. So 1,000 votes in the 106. It's a big deal. And so lastly, this is the last slide, I promise. Our formula for success. So turnout, this is obviously average. Turnout in Michigan, total voting is 4.53 million people. The GOP base, probably you guys, 1.53 million. You're going to vote. You're going to get out. You know to vote. I don't have to call you and knock on your door and remind you to vote. So what that means to win in 2016, to turn Michigan red, we only need 900,000 more people. Now that sounds like a lot from a small county. However, if we get, you know, an extra 500 from Alcona County, you know, there's over 10,000 people in Alcona County. If we get an extra 500 here, there's 84 counties. Obviously, Alcona is one of the smaller population counties in the state. And every small county got 500 or 1,000 more. Now we're talking reasonable numbers. Then we have Oakland County and Wayne County who have that many people in them, you know. So it starts small. Our votes matter. Every Republican vote we get up here cancels out a Democrat vote from Detroit, you know. And so that's a formula for success. We need, and these are the steps we can take to get there. Again, we're doing trainings, anything anyone needs. I'm available, you can reach me at any time. I'll try not to take as much time any other trainings I get. I just want to introduce myself and let you guys know. And just a little encouragement, in the state of Michigan right now, there's about 4 candidates that are polling higher than the Democratic frontrunners. 4 different Republican candidates right now that are polling up to 9-10% higher in the state. So that's all.
Which ones are they?
I know that Donald Trump was 2% last I saw, and he was the lowest, and Marco Rubio was 9%.
Okay,
Those
you're
are
in
the
Michigan.
that's the 2 differences. Again, I am not saying either of them. However, that is what the polling data is showing right now, and it's so early. It's so early. We can't say, "Oh, cool, we're going to win," you know. So, thank you for your time. If you need anything, I have business cards here.